Good morning, everyone. How's it going? As you can see, I have a beautiful new deck that was gifted to me by a great friend in my circle community, and it's called the Coastal Crow. And I thought it was interesting that MJ Cullinane, I apologize if I'm butchering your name, MJ, but she was born in Boston on the East Coast and now lives in the Pacific Northwest. And I was actually raised in Connecticut on the East Coast and just finished taking a trip to the Pacific Northwest in Oregon. So very interesting, very interesting. Can't make this stuff up, but I guess she has a mountaintop studio on San Juan Island. She says she layers collage and illustration into images to create each card. Her goal is to help conjure feelings and insights. And these are independently published decks and in small batches in the USA. So, yeah, so my friend Farrell, actually, she said she had purchased 2 of these and had this extra one hanging around. And when she learned my affinity for the ocean, thought that maybe I would enjoy reading these. So I'm excited to tell you that I have spent a couple of days kind of sitting with the deck and letting it get my energy, if you will. So when I get a new deck, I know it's probably kind of goofy, but I sleep with it next to me for like at least, I don't know, a few days before I work with it. And so last night I finally shuffled it and did all the things. So yeah, here we go. We're going to do a reading with these today. So I love the cards. They're very, very thick and I love them. Yeah, they're going to be tough to shuffle because I'm not going to want to bend them. And not that they could bend. But thank you for supporting the Coastal Crow and Raven. So authentic copy, first printing. Love it, love it. I may refer to the book during this reading because I have not read the book cover to cover, as I typically don't. But if you know me, you know I do my best not to let other people's interpretations overshadow what I'm reading in the cards, because the way I read tarot is, or the way my belief system is set up, spirit speaks my language. So the pictures are going to either create a story in my head, remind me of a story, inspire me to tell you a story, and that's the message that is meant to come out, because it's obviously speaking my language. If I'm speaking Spanish, I'm not going to read a book written in German, right? If that makes sense. So that being the case, let me shuffle one more time and then let's get some energy. I don't really have a theme or a question for the deck today, other than for it to introduce itself to me and for me to introduce myself to it. So we'll just get some current energies, kind of like the 10-minute tarot that I do on TikTok, but we're gonna give myself no time limit, which God only knows that could be a blessing and a curse all at the same time. So we're going to go ahead and get started. What's our current energy? Current energy. Beautiful cards. Current energies for today. What are the current energies? Nope, not quite yet. There we go. We've got the Magician on its side. So I want to sit with this card. I really want to be intentional with this reading. The energy is undecided. It's undecided. We caught it as it's coming in. The Magician in this deck. So typically we would see a magician with his hand up and a hand down, right, as above so below, and we would see all 4 elements depicted in the card. But in this one we're seeing the boat, right, and very calm waters, and interestingly it looks like it's the crow, right, that is fishing, has the net picking up the fish, as if it had stolen it from this ship, because I doubt that this crow is the one that set the net, right? And so could this mean, I almost want to say using the resources that are out there, right? So the crow clearly saw that the net was there and went to pick it up. So I feel like it's don't reinvent the wheel, almost. The Magician would be about manifesting, right? And knowing that the things that you want are within your reach. And maybe that's the reach part there. But I feel like it's in this deck anyway, and being on the side, is what resources are out there that you can borrow from, right? It doesn't have, we don't have to be so completely unique and reinvent the wheel, if you will. So when I was in software development, we very seldom wrote code from scratch, right? We would find a program or a code that kind of was close to what we needed and then modify it, right? If we were to write 10, 20, 30,000 lines of code from scratch, that would be, and somebody somewhere did, right? I'm not saying that somebody somewhere didn't, but we stand on the shoulders of our predecessors, if you will. And at the same time, we invite others to stand on our shoulders, right? We're the bridge that prevents other people from having to swim across the river. Because if we've already done the work, why not share it? And that's what I loved about the software community. It was very open source, and I don't know if you know what open source means, but basically saying I have no claim to this code. Like if you borrow it and use it and modify it and make it your own, I'm not going to go and sue you later and say that you owe me money. And I really liked the collective mentality that was open source development back in the 90s and 2000s, because it doesn't exist really a lot, or it didn't, I should say, in the later 2000s. It got very capitalist after a while, and I like that being in the software development in that era was kind of a preview of what was to come in the way of collective conscious and collective healing, right? We don't have to reinvent healing. If we know something works, let's use it, right? So I've been on a Chase Hughes kick, and he has like a system, and he's like, why would you try to browbeat yourself into doing something when you can just use neuroscience, right? It's already been proven. It's already been researched, and it's evidence-based. Like we use evidence-based programming in substance use, right? We legally are not allowed to use anything other than evidence-based stuff. Why are we not doing that on ourselves? Why are we not taking those same things and just picking up what somebody else planted, if you will, or set, and reaping the benefits of that, right? Reap the benefits of it. And the boat doesn't entirely look pissed off about it. Like, it's like, okay, yep, no big deal. It probably has several nets that it was cast. But anyway, let's move on. Let's keep going. I like this energy. I like this. It feels collective to me. It feels very community oriented. I was going to say communism, but that always has such a bad word. It's very community unity oriented, right? Very utopian, if you will. A utopian idea of what communism should have been when the idea was communicated. Yeah, that's what I want to say. I noticed today that my words are not coming as fast as I would like them to, and having to slow down and pause to think of the exact right word, rather than just keep talking and have the wrong word come out. How intentional are you with your words? I am not often that way, but kind of feeling that today. I like that I have very little to do this weekend, and so I can pretty much do what I want. I don't get too many weekends like that, and after the week that I had, I think it's a welcome change, if you will. And yes, now I'm kind of just babbling because we're waiting to see what more energies are coming out. What more do we have to say about the energies? There we go. The King of Pentacles. I just want to sit with this card for a minute. I like the dandelion. That looks like someone blew for a wish already. Right, we have the crow and what is that? A seagull, maybe? I'm gonna have to brush up on my animals, but again, capturing the fish. So it looks like he was fishing on his own this time. Right, he didn't use the net. Same boats there. Boats on the other side. Boats on the other side. So, and the birds are facing different directions. So, I like the starfish. I told the starfish story, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and the crab, and then the whales. Or fish. No, those are fish. I'll have to let it zoom in because my eyes are old. Fish, and then the crown, right? So the king of pentacles, the king of resources. I like the two hands coming out. At least it looks like fingers, hands. I don't know, maybe it's fish. I think it's still fish. Yeah, that was a little creepy, but it did kind of remind me of two hands coming out, but I think it's fish. And just having the resources in front of you, and knowing that you do have to save a little bit for later, right? But there's still going to be more to be had. And you always have what you need. So the King of Pentacles about, if I was to go back to like traditional tarot, I'm trying to see what this card speaks to me, but everything you need is all around you, right? Everything we need is of the earth anyway. All of the extra stuff is just extra stuff, right? What do we really need? If we could get solar power and we could grow a garden and we could live near live water, then really what more do we need, right? What more do we need to survive? We would like to thrive. Maybe we'd like to have some books and some communities and some things and all the extras and stuff. But at the end of the day, what do you need? You need food, you need water, and in today's day and age, you kind of need electricity. So you can get all of those things from the earth. You don't need to go elsewhere to get it. So everything that you need is within reach, right? Within reach. And the King of Pentacles knows that. And the King of Pentacles makes sure everybody has what they need. Everybody has what they need, including the bird that isn't a crow, right? The seagull, or I think it's a seagull. But feeding everyone, right? He's not just feeding himself, he's feeding everyone. And he probably eats last. So there's is it a book? No, I think it's a phrase or a podcast or something by Simon Sinek that says leaders eat last. And it's that way in the military, right? So making sure that your troops eat first and making sure that the best interests of the people that you are in charge of come first, right? So if you take care of your people will take care of the customers, if you're talking about business, right? And that which will in turn take care of you. But leaders don't lead, they serve. Leaders don't lead, they serve. And that's the King of Pentacles energy, right? So that's the mature, resource driven leader, if you will. I like that. I like that for us. Yeah, let's keep going. What more do I want to say about that? I had one boss one time that, her name was Jen. I worked for her for, 12 straight years, and then I off and on for a few years after that, but best boss ever. She just supported the staff. She didn't get involved in the weeds, if you will. She didn't get involved in micromanaging. She just took care of the staff and gave us the freedom and the autonomy to be creative with our work, right? This was back in software development, and to do the things we needed to do, and then to keep us organized, right? Because you could go off in rabbit holes pretty quick in software development. The next card out, Judgment. I was listening to something about judgment today, but I do want to sit with this for a minute. So a lot of dragonflies and picking up the snake as opposed to the fish this time, right? And the feathers. So there's some chaos, right? So a bird's feathers will fall when it's chaotic, when it's flapping its wings super, super fast, right? And then you have this bird on the top of the tree there, and this bird. And some of those birds almost kind of blend into being the feathers, right? It can't even tell the difference between itself and its own feathers that are falling, and the birds beneath it. So some sort of chaotic energy of maybe, I feel like it's deceiving yourself almost, which is not necessarily what Judgment Upright is. It's about self-forgiveness, right? But and maybe that's the message, right? Is just be calm, be still, and forgive yourself, right? Stop judging yourself as harshly as you are. I had a client yesterday that said it's easier to forgive other people than it is to forgive myself, and she's 20. And I was like, oh my God, at 20, you know that. And of course, my answer was, you have the skill, right? So if you can forgive other people, then the skill, your woolly mammoth brain, your mammalian brain, already knows how to do the thing. We just got to point it at ourselves. We can definitely beat ourselves up like no tomorrow, right? But can we take that same amount of energy and judgment and chaos and use that power for good? I think we can. To the world. And the ending of cycles, right? The ending of cycles. I like all the whales in this card, the killer whales. I don't know. You know what? I want to research killer whales because I know there's some sort of, what do they do that's unique about them? There's something there. I'm going to butcher it, so I'm not even going to try. But the world completing cycles. You know, I've gathered all of my resources. I have all the things that I need. And now it's time to start anew, right? I have put things away from this cycle, this lesson. I've carried those energies and those, what is the word I'm looking for? Let me pause for a minute. It's the skills and abilities that I have learned in this cycle, and I set them aside, and I've tucked them down into the woolly mammoth brain. Now they're habits. So now I have to find the new things, uncover more unconsciousness, and figure out what the next cycle is. What is the next thing I need to name? What is the next thing I want to work on? Because this one is done. I love that for us. And last card out is the Queen of Cups in the reverse. So let's look at it in the upright. I do like that she's a white bird in this one. Because white and the butterfly and the transformation and the purity and the overcoming of the waves, right? She's nurturing, she's pleasant, she's very feminine energy, very compassionate energy. But we have her in the reverse. So what would we say about the Queen of Cups in the reverse would be more like a little codependency, maybe, right? I gotta have the validation from somewhere else. I can't regulate my emotions unless you regulate yours, right? The water rolling down as opposed to rolling up or in or forward or back or whichever. We still have some other killer whales in the background, but not nearly as many as we did in the world. So there's some things happening there. The butterfly beneath her, the transformation behind her, she can't see it. She can't see the transformation. She can't see that she is her own liberation. She's only looking into the cup that is upside down, so is utterly empty, if you think about it. She's not filling it. She's draining it. And how do we drain our energy? How do we not fill our own cup? Is by things like codependency, right? Getting your validation from the outside. Getting your emotional regulation from other people. Not knowing how to sit in your own energy can be the Queen of Cups in the reverse. Let's get some advice. What's some advice for this? What is the advice? Well, 8 of Pentacles. Do what you're good at. Do what you're good at. Know what you're doing and do it to the best of your ability. It's kind of like a mastery, if you will. But find the skill that you're good at and then work on it, right? And maybe that skill is you. This crow is working on a, what is the word I want to say? Not fake, but an artistic representation of who he is, and working on himself continuously. And his beak, I mean, it's going to take him a while. It's going to take him a while using all those resources. But use all the resources that you've gained up through now to build yourself, to reinvent yourself, to define yourself. I'm just looking at the bird. He's probably like, what the heck is this guy doing down there? We're supposed to be flying and fishing. And he's like, no, I'm just going to build a scarecrow version of myself. What would that even be for? Like, why would he even need to do that? I don't know. But there's a couple of them, right? There's a couple of them there that he's worked on, and now he's working on a new version. Working on a new version of yourself, right? And keeping that eye on the prize. And just honing and refining that skill. To the Three of Wands. So we actually got this in the other reading. But the Three of Wands, the progress, right? I love the lighthouse. So lighthouses have been a thing for me lately, but because I tell my clients all the time, I can be a lighthouse. I can be a light to guide you into safe waters, but I'm not going to go out and get you. I'm just not. Like, you have to do the work, right? And we kind of have to do that to ourselves, right? So noticing the progress, and he's facing the lighthouse, like he sees the light of the lighthouse, but he also carries his own lights with him too. And maybe sometimes you have to be your own lighthouse. Maybe it's time to follow your true north, find what's right for you and not what's right for everybody else. We have guides, right? We have spirit guides, lighthouses, and they'll be different for all of us. Just like I was saying with the book, and knowing that the cards would speak to me in my language. I do want to read what this book has to say about the world. Actually, we'll read all the cards. So the Magician, we started with the Magician. The number 1 card. I always want to call it the 2 card. I don't know why. Because the Fool is 0. But yeah, the Magician is the number 1 card. So what the Magician brings in is intention, focus, resourceful action. And when the Tide pulls out, self-doubt. I like how it says the Ocean brings in for upright and the Tide pulls out for the reversal, but self-doubt and scattered effort. So we're somewhere in between intention and self-doubt. That makes sense. And then for the King of Pentacles, don't worry, I'll bring it all together, guys. Bear with me. I just really want to be slow and intentional with this deck. Knight. Queen. We're getting there. King of Pentacles is what the Ocean brings in. So upright is stability, stewardship, wealth with responsibility. Yeah, that's what I was saying, like the responsible portion of fishing, but continuing to build up that savings, right? And when it's in the reverse sphere of lack, corner cutting. And then we go to Judgment. So we had the intention versus scattered, right? Intentional versus scattered. And then the resourceful, oh my God, I already forgot it now. Stability, right? The stability to Judgment. I appreciate the care it takes to create a deck, and I do appreciate that in this book she tells us how she came to the scene that she used for the card. I know my words are very slow and intentional today. I don't know. It's very, very interesting energy. Judgment, what the Ocean brings in. Awakening, purpose, a call to rise. Right? Do you see that? Awakening, purpose, a call to rise. Yeah. Yeah. And when it would be in the reverse, it would be stale, self-condemnation, and paralysis by guilt. To the world, completion, integration, belonging. I like the belonging. I hadn't thought about the belonging. But everything is where it belongs. I love that. Queen of Cups in the reverse. Don't worry, I'll read it all back again once we get these keywords in place. You know what I really like? I like that she didn't change the names of cups of the suits. Sometimes that can get confusing. Page. Knight. There's a queen in here somewhere. Queen of Cups in the reverse would be what the Tide pulls out. Sacrificing to a fault or guilt. Yeah, too much sacrifice. Like falling on your own sword, being that martyr. To the Eight of Pentacles. Kind of goes back here. Learning mastery, perfecting a skill. That's what we talked about, right? And then the Three of Wands. What the Ocean brings in. Expansion, momentum, and informed risk. I like the informed risk part because we were talking about the lighthouse. All right, so let's put it all together. We've got the intention, whether we're intentional or we're scatterbrained, if you will. Not really sure where that's going yet. But the resourceful King of Pentacles. Wow. Resourceful King of Pentacles. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. Who knows how to save, right? Who knows how to put things away when he needs to, and get things prepared for his people, right? To the awakening. The awakening comes right before the completion, right? I tell my clients all the time that the awareness of a thing is 99% of it once you're aware of it, right? And then once you're aware of it, it's kind of like turning a light on in a dark room. It's just gone. It's over. To the codependency, a little bit of I was going to say self-sabotage, but I don't think it's self-sabotage. I think it's kind of falling on your own sword, thinking you're a martyr. Like, I'm going to sacrifice myself so that those people around me that come after me, whatever word you want to put in there, so that those people can thrive. But they can't thrive because you haven't taught them how. All you've taught them how to do is sacrifice yourself. So master yourself, right? Master yourself. Figure out that skill and work on it. And then notice the progress. Notice the progress. All right, guys, I'm going to look at the bottom of the deck. I was going to say I'm going to leave it there, but I want to look at the bottom of the deck. What we don't see coming is the Seven of Wands. Seven of Wands would be defensive posturing, but and it kind of is, right? Like he's got his light and he's kind of squawking to keep people away, right? He doesn't want those other 6 wands to come near him. I'm going to read from the book, though. Seven of Wands. What the ocean brings in: conviction, strong stance, principled defense. Okay, so I like that it's principled defense. Never heard it described that way before, because I don't like the just defensive, right? Principled defense. Defend who you are. Defend who you are. Defend your authenticity, and know that everyone else's authenticity is theirs too, right? We don't have to attack them for not being like us, and they don't have to attack us for not being like them. We were talking about this in my IOP yesterday about belief systems, and how it's okay to have a different belief system. And a lot of our arguments, even with family members, right? It's because we don't believe things the same way. I have a new client who said he was having a rough day because him and his brother had gotten into a fight the night before, because the brother wants to tell him how to do recovery. And he's like, it's my recovery. Why are you trying to tell me this is what works for you? This is what works for me. Like, just let me have my thing. And of course, right away, his gut instinct, his woolly mammoth, was to attack his brother and say, well, you still do this or you still do that. Your recovery isn't perfect either. And trying to nitpick on each other. And I feel like this is not nitpicking. It's just defending your position. So, other people are nitpicking. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you standing up there? We're supposed to be down here. Da, 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 da. He's like, no, I'm going to stand in my truth on my branch by myself, because it's what's right for me. And the pink hue of the heart chakra. Behind that, we're going to say it with love. We're going to defend ourselves and defend our posture, defend our position with love. So it's not going to be, screw you, let me do my thing. It's going to be interesting point of view. And then be open-minded. I'll take that into consideration. And maybe your view changes. Maybe it doesn't. But they at least feel heard. And now you feel empowered. And that's what you don't see coming at the bottom of the deck. So I love that for us. Anyway, you guys, I know this was kind of a long, drawn-out, slow, dare I say it, elementary type reading, because I'm new to these cards, and I really wanted to read the book and see what the author had in mind with these images. But it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm super excited about having it. I'm going to use it more and more often. I'm going to carry it with me for the next few weeks. What I do when I'm trying to really connect with the deck is I'll carry it in my purse. I'll sleep with it near my bed, really trying to just exchange energies and introduce myself to the deck and let it introduce itself to me. I do like the colors. I didn't talk I would have talked more about them, and will talk more about them in the future as I use these decks. But we have the orange. It's very chakra oriented. We've got some yellow here, some blue throat chakra stuff happening. Judgment being really creative, right? The sacral chakra energy. But I could go on all day. I could just look at this reading and keep talking about it for the next 2 hours, and I'm not sure that's entirely what everybody wants me to do. But when you get a deck, when you get a new thing, I mean, it doesn't have to be a deck. It's just a new thing in your life, a new awakening, right? A new way of looking at things, or a new idea, or something just hits you like a ton of bricks. You kind of want to sit with it, right? You kind of want to just sit with it. And did you guys hear that? There's birds outside my window. It's so wild. You kind of want to sit with things and introduce yourself to them and let them introduce themselves to you. And learn what the energy is, right? Because we don't want to just miss something, right? We don't want to miss something. We want to be really intentional, really thoughtful. And we do this with people or we don't, I should say, most of us don't do this with people. We meet somebody and right away we're listening to respond instead of really listening and getting to know a new person. I had 5 new clients this week that I had to, and it was exhausting, don't get me wrong, but sit and make time for and listen and tell them, you are not your chart. You are not your addiction. You are not your crimes. I want to know who you are. Introduce yourself to me. And then I introduce myself to them. And that's how you build rapport. And that's how you provide space, right? Holding that space for people and getting to know people instead of them or you just being a one-dimensional opinion of who they think you are, right? I'm very often not the person you think I am when you walk into my house, when you see my car, when you walk into my office. A little bit, yeah. I mean, you probably get 50% there, but most people don't know that I go to Bible study on Sundays, that I go to Catholic church on occasion, that I celebrate Jewish holidays. Like, you wouldn't think that looking at me. And so there's more underneath the surface. And I love that we took the time, and that you took the time, if you're still watching, to be slow and intentional with this deck and allow me the time to really sit, understand what the author was saying, understand what I think the pictures are saying to me, and for the story to be a little choppy, right? It was a little choppy because I went back and forth a little bit, but you know, let's maybe try to put it all together to give you some sort of closure to this reading. The Magician being the intention, is it there or not yet? Maybe you're just in that liminal space of intention and chaos, and there has to be that liminal space, right? Knowing that you have all the resources and being very resourceful with taking care of the things that you need to take care of. And then the awakening, right? The understanding that I did the best I could with what I had at the time, and completing that cycle and taking those skills and putting them to the side so I can learn new skills, right? Moving those skills into the subconscious mind and creating habits out of that. Maybe being a little codependent, maybe being a little self-sabotagey. And that's the second time I said it without intention, so maybe that's it. But being the martyr, right? Being the martyr. I'll fall on my sword so other people can benefit by it. And then mastering your skill, mastering your craft, if you will. And that craft is rebuilding the new you. I love that in this deck. And then noticing the progress, right? Noticing your progress, but also keeping your eye on that lighthouse. What is your true north? I can do what I want. And the true north doesn't have to, I was going to say it doesn't have to change, and it doesn't. So your true north, your value system, you might have some of the values change within there, but your core 2 or 3 values are never going to change. And that's your true north. That's your lighthouse. Always work to that. And then defend it. Defend it. And don't make other people defend theirs, right? Be authentic. Be authentic. Do what you're doing. Be authentic. Do it for you. Don't do it for anybody else but you, because they're never going to learn it until they see it. I was telling my clients the other day, you know, I can't define something. I can't understand something that I have never seen. I need a picture of it. I need to understand what that looks like. I, for a long time, didn't understand what being a good mom was, right? And I'm not going to argue this fact. I'm not going to debate it. There's different versions of good moms, and I'm not saying your version is better than my version. I didn't know what a good mom looked like for me, for my family, for our needs, for our belief systems. And I'm still defining that. I'm working with my community, with my therapist, with my subconscious mind, with my authenticity to determine what does that mean for me. And then I'm not going to defend it. I'm just going to do it. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. I really, if you're still watching, I appreciate you so much for sharing this time with me and for letting me tell you a little bit about who I am. And I would love for you to tell me a little bit about who you are. And I love these cards. If you have a chance to get them to support local artists, the Coastal Crow and Raven Tarot by MJ Cullinane. Appreciate you. And Farrell, the friend who gifted me this deck. Farrell, you're amazing. Thank you so much. I'm having so much fun with these cards. All right, guys, take care.